Well, our next speaker is from the United Kingdom. He's an entrepreneur and an educator. He says he's really spends his time and always wanted to find out how people can get the best, make themselves the best at what they do, and how they can know what their purpose in life is. He said from 3 years old he played tennis, and at 16 he became a professional tennis player. But he almost immediately decided that isn't what he wanted to do with his life, and he then set up, and he's managing director of at least 3 businesses. And one of them is on education, and he says there he helps people to increase their academic performance, one on sport, increasing their athletic performance, and one in healthcare, where basically he makes sure that we know how best to get the best out of our brain. I've got some sympathy with him because I've always felt from a very early age that I may not know the answer, but I know someone does, and I'm going to go on until I find out who that person is. And that really is what our next speaker's done. He's found mentors, he's gone to the professionals, the professors, the psychologists, the people who know what he wants to know about how we can get the best from ourselves, and that's how he's done it. So a great welcome to our next speaker, Samani.
Thank you, Carole. Very kind of you. I think it's a given that we all agree that One Young World throughout the past few days has been an absolute massive step forward in raising awareness and consciousness. Us young gathered in the same room at the same time with the current, to exchange, to think, and to collaborate. But it is on this day that 125 million people are currently out of formal education. Out of the 1.9 billion poor, 640 million do not have access to any shelter. 400 million do not have access to clean water. And 200 million do not have access to basic healthcare. At the turn of the 21st century, 1 billion people entered without the ability to read or to write. My fellow delegates and my fellow counsellors, how do we stand to have a peaceful and empowering future when so many people are struggling just to survive? Ask yourselves, and take a minute to ask yourselves, each of you, the following question. If you had no food, no water, no shelter, and you were illiterate, what would you do? 1.9 billion people are currently asking themselves that question as we sit here today. So once this resolution has passed, our first step needs to be to refine, to refresh, and to create a new, an updated definition, a 21st century-based definition of what a human right actually is. Because by the sounds of it, water, food, a home, and the ability to read and to write and then read your name is not on the agenda. Now, I know all of us in here believe in human rights. I know at some level we feel we are doing or we could do more personally within our respective businesses or initiatives. Hence why our second step then needs to be to outline a plan that sticks to the following 3 points: practical, achievable, and digestible. And what better of an example than one of our own counsellors, Muhammad Yunus? $27 to 42 women in a Bangladeshi village. Guys and girls, is that not the best example for us to take away on the basis that we do not need billions and billions of dollars in our pockets today to change a life? We need a plan. That plan needs to be practical, it needs to be achievable, and it needs to be digestible. Whatever it is for us today, now. Our third step then needs to be to engage and to motivate all of the stakeholders that are involved to make this plan happen. And I think that's been one of the biggest failures of our current leaders. We do a good job in setting the agenda, but what do we do to ensure we motivate and engage all of the stakeholders that are involved in executing that agenda? The leader who is setting the ideals and the agenda cannot be the only one who partakes in the marriage between great words and great actions. The NGOs, the commissions, the policymakers, us, our counselors, must also partake in this marriage between great words and great actions. I know it's easier said than done, because for pretty much all of us, I know it's veiled in bureaucracy and corruption. But let's take a look at history as an example. Kofi Annan raised $1.6 billion for an AIDS and HIV initiative in pledges and contributions. Pledges and contributions. What we all are aware of, that every single human being on this earth has this intrinsic ability, intrinsic need to give and to contribute. I'd like to close with a few final thoughts. We have enough today. Our biggest problem is we have forgotten the meaning of the phrase, to share. Out of the 225 richest individuals, they have a combined wealth of $1 trillion. That is equal to the annual income of 47% of the world's poorest populations. $8 billion a year is spent on cosmetics. That is $2 billion more to provide every poor person in this world with a basic education. And lastly, how about this for a fact? To provide every poor person with basic health care, a basic education, food, shelter, water, and reproductive health care for women will cost an annual $40 billion a year. That is less than 4% of the annual income of those 225 richest individuals. If you do the maths, you work out that we have everything we need right now. We do not need to create, we just need to distribute. So, my message to my fellow counselors is this. Over the last 3 days and today, we have a choice. And that choice is we collaborate as a team, as one unit, or we die alone as individuals. My message to our counselors, and this is to all of our counselors, is that all of us here, online, and future One Young World delegates are ready to lead. We embody the virtues of compassion, of tolerance, and forgiveness. We are ready to learn from your wisdom, from your victories, and also from your mistakes. And we have seen the mistakes that have been made by the few, and it has angered us no end. But on this day, we assure you, all of our counselors, that our anger will not consume our judgment, our compassion, and our ever more realizing need for progress. Thank you.